There it is. The countdown is over. Three, two, one. Here we go. I did a quick 1 minute TikTok on this same subject. Visualization, visionary to victim. Um, but I wanted to do more, so I brought it here because, again, in 60 seconds, it just sounds really brutal, and I don't like sounding like I don't care about somebody or someone who has gone through this. But visionaries, when you're around a visionary, every problem or circumstance that could cause the vision to not perform as well as they envision it to, they overcome, and they find, like, they're constantly thinking of ways to overcome the problem or work the problem. Find they just find a way, and people are drawn into that. They get excited because you're constantly seeing victory. You're constantly overcoming. You're a part of something. You make adjustments. It's pretty exciting to be around a visionary. It really is. They move fast. Sometimes they'll make your head spin. Things will move so fast because things happen around them. So I've seen it. People that started restaurants are very visionary people. A lot of inventors are visionaries, and I've been around them. Pastors, a lot of pastors are visionaries. And what happens is, somewhere along the line, what when a visionary starts to become a victim is when they start to look for excuses as to why the greatness of what they envisioned didn't happen or isn't happening. Or the problems begin to work them. And rather than coming in and being like, okay, we have to overcome this, they come in and say, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, this has come up, and now this, or I got a letter so we got such a bad review, or so and so's decided not to come anymore. And the problems become excuses, and excuses then become victims of the circumstances. It's fascinating to me. I've seen it happen a lot, and it's sad. That's, I know I laughed when I said that, didn't I? But it is. It's just sad because often in their conversation I can hear, or in their vocabulary I can hear what they thought it would be, what they saw it could be, and now it's not. And they've lost vision. When I was growing up, I'll stick with churches because I've been around those the most. When I was growing up, churches, there were always churches that were thriving, but not always the ones I was in. So churches that weren't thriving when I was growing up, there was things like, well, contemporary music is what's the problem. We drums. They're going to let drums on stage, guitars on stage, and if they do that, the church is going to fall apart. And they would start losing people to these contemporary churches that were popping up all over the place. And they were like, the church is falling apart. See, that's the problem. The problem is the contemporary church. The problem is the music. If they didn't use secular music and secular instruments, like instruments could be secular or sacred, if they didn't use secular instruments, then the church would be fine. But now, in essence, our church is falling apart because that church has better music. And that's a whole nother church history thing, right? As to programs overcoming and the focus of the church, I think, becoming programming versus people. But that's another whole paradigm that will be for other thoughts. But then it was New Age philosophy. New Age philosophy was a big deal when I was a teenager. I learned about it in high school, read a lot about it. Just on a personal level, I found it. I really wanted to know what this New Age philosophy was like, so I just literally got pooped on. Look at that. Why, thank you. You think it's a sign? That's what the Lord thinks of your thoughts, Bob. Poop on you. Oh, that's funny. I think it's funny. So, yeah, New Age philosophy. So I read a lot about it, and it was going to destroy the church because yada yada yada. And a lot of churches went down, and they blamed it on New Age philosophy. When reality is, I think the leadership just lost vision. They didn't overcome things. They didn't work the problem. They let the problem work them. And then it became, then nobody likes being around a victim. Victims don't draw people into their problems. They depress people. More recently, in the late 90s, early 2000s, deconstructionism became a thing. I read a lot about that, and I'm actually a fan of it. I think deconstruction, for me, is a part of growth. So people who are growing, I think deconstruct. You deconstruct what you believe, and you reconstruct what you believe, because what you reconstruct, it works. Like a lot of times what people deconstruct are things that they've been told to believe, things that they read. It doesn't have to be Christian stuff. It could be secular stuff as well, stuff they were told in college or high school, like this is the truth. And then you get older and you deconstruct that. It's like, what? Why did I believe that? Well, turns out I actually don't believe that. It turns out I actually think, in my research and in my studies, this actually works better. I like this belief system. I'm going to just stick with this concept. And you probably do that a number of times in your life, because that's the way life is. You should deconstruct and reconstruct. And people that allow that to happen are people that stay in your life for a long time. People who are like, no, if you don't believe this, you're either for me or against me. That's a victim mentality. That's also like a dictator mentality. If the person is running the business, like you're either loyal. Loyalty is a big thing to victims. You're loyal to them, and if you're not loyal to them, well then fine. I guess yeah, you've got problems. And then I have heard of a lot of churches, read a lot about them recently. The most recent one was COVID. Well, they shut us down, and the people have never come back. They were not running the same numbers we were running before. And it really doesn't matter the size of the church, right? But there are churches that are thriving. What's the difference? I think it's because at some level they worked the problem rather than get worked by it. They don't look at it and say, wow, no one's coming back. Doggone it. We need to convince those people that what we have is valuable and they need to come back to church. Instead, they looked at it and said, wow, what did leaving church expose about us that we need to work on? Why is it that people don't think they need to keep coming back now that they were forced to take a break? How many people were in a rhythm of coming to church, and when that rhythm was broken, they realized there was nothing here of value for them? I mean, that's hard to take. And it's not just church. I mean, businesses have gone through that. Restaurants, that all their regular customers didn't come back. Why? Well, they realized something you had that they were just used to is something they don't need anymore. I don't know. It's a fascinating thing, but you can hear it. You can hear a victim. The vocabulary of a victim is vastly different from a vocabulary of a visionary. And the way people respond is different as well. Visionaries inspire work. Victims inspire, well, at some level they inspire loyalty out of fear. Well, what's going to happen to my friend if everybody walks away? What's going to happen to the business? What's going to happen to the church? But again, that's not a response to a visionary. That's a response to a victim. So anyways, I think I'll probably wrap it up there because I'm going to end up repeating myself, rolling around several times. But yeah, some of my rambling thoughts today on that subject. Hope you enjoyed. Always a pleasure to have you stop by.